So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing Indian Express of yesterday as well as tomorrow's. We will try to cover the article from yesterday as well. We could not come live for a reason. So that is why we will be discussing certain articles from yesterday, and then we will be discussing today's newspaper. Okay. Now we will be starting with the practice question which is given to you, and then we will move towards the fact of the day. Then we will be talking about certain aspects of the constitution. We will try to cover certain articles over there, and then we will be moving to our important articles. Okay, this session is gonna be a little bit longer, so bear with me. So let's start. We'll start with the practice question, and then we'll be moving forward in this direction, and then we'll be seeing legally binding pact on AI. On artificial intelligence, there is this European Commission which has come up with a legally binding pact on artificial intelligence. We will try to understand what are the impacts of such pact. Okay. Then Swachh Bharat and infant mortality. There is this article at the front page that is talking about the Swachh Bharat helped avert 60,000 infant deaths per year. Okay, so that is a significant number. So just because of the Swachh Bharat mission, these many lives we could save. So we'll be talking about that, and then what is last chance tourism. In yesterday's paper, there was this term which is used, that is last chance tourism. So we'll be talking about that. We will be seeing why it is getting prominent. Okay. Then in the end there will be one or two articles for your own read, and then we'll be going to the practice question. Okay, so let's start with the discussion. Other than that, we'll be discussing few more things like here India, China, Brazil in Putin's list of potential mediators on Ukraine. India has actually, when Indian Prime Minister has went to Ukrainian visit, over there we have actually said that we were never neutral, we were on the side of peace, and we will be happy to be contributing into that particular peace. And here Russian president has said the similar thing. India, China and Brazil can be part of the peace process, and that came before the, you can say, BRICS meeting that is supposed to happen in October in Russia. Okay, so we'll be talking about that article as well. Okay, now moving further, there was this practice question, which state is located to the south of Manipur, that is Assam, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura. We have seen that when we have talked about the geography of Manipur, we have seen that this is the valley portion. Okay, and then these are the hilly areas, and we have seen that the upper part is mostly occupied by the Nagas, and there is this demand of greater Nagalim as well from the Naga people. So in the north we have Nagaland, so that cannot be answer. Okay, Assam is in the west, so that is also not the answer. Talking about Mizoram and Tripura, here you can see we have Myanmar to the east, and then here in the southwest you can say we have Mizoram. So Manipur does not have a boundary with Tripura, so we can say that option B would be a right answer, that is Mizoram. Okay, now moving further, there is the fact of the day, that is Vishanu Yudh Abhyas. Vishanu Yudh Abhyas. Vishanu is the term which is used for the virus in the Hindi. Okay, so Vishanu Yudh Abhyas, a mock drill on pandemic preparedness conducted under the National One Health Mission. Okay, when we talk about the One Health Mission or the term One Health, that is meaning that we are trying to achieving an aim with respect to man, or you can say human, and with the animals as well, because you know that there are various kind of zoonotic diseases. When we talk about COVID etc., they have originated from bats. So from you can say biological creature, or you can say from the animals, it has actually spread to the human. Okay, so that was, these are kind of your zoonotic diseases. Here we can see that how animal health is also impacting the human health. Okay, so considering that, we have come up with a National One Health Mission where we will focus on the, you can say, human as well as animal health. Okay, now here you can say National One Health Mission emphasis on the One Health approach aims to achieve integrated disease control and pandemic preparedness. Okay, now integrated disease control means that including man and animal. Okay, now when we are talking about this Vishanu Yudh Abhyas, after COVID-19, it has been imperative for us to understand that these things can happen again. That is why they have actually gone for the virus Vishanu Yudh Abhyas, wherein they can check the, you can say, the pandemic preparedness. Okay, so that is there, that was a mock drill which has been performed. Okay, I hope that is clear. We can move to the next part, that is our constitution. We were doing the fifth part of the constitution, that is the union government, and we were talking about parliament. Okay, so let's continue doing that. Article 85, we have talked about the strength of the parliament. We have seen that how president convenes the parliament. Other than that, there are certain specific things with respect to president, vice president, and we have seen the council of ministers, etc. in the union government. Now we will be talking about the sessions of the parliament. Now who will actually call for a session of the parliament? So that power is with the president. Now that is being done by the aid and advice. Okay, we know that. Now the session of the parliament, prorogation and resolution. The president summons the parliamentary sessions and ensure no more than 6 months pass between the session. Now it is not given in the, you can say, constitution that how many session will be there in a year. Okay, it is also not given that on which duration or sessions would be of how much duration, at which time it should be conducted, but only one thing which is given over here is that there should not be a gap of more than 6 months between two sessions. And who will ensure that? That is for president. Okay, so before that, president will summon a session. Okay, now when we are talking about India, India has 3 sessions. Generally it has become the convention, you know that. Okay, so one is your budget session, we have monsoon session, we have winter session. Okay, so these are the sessions which are there. Okay, again there is no, you can say, limit or bar which is there. We only have one condition, that there should not be a gap of more than 6 months between the two sessions. Okay, now the president can prorogue, or you can say suspend, the house of parliament or either house of the, you can say, parliament. Second is dissolve the Lok Sabha. Okay, again when we are talking about the sessions and the prorogation, etc., all these powers are with the president. Okay, adjournment can be done by the speaker. Okay, moving further, dissolve the Lok Sabha. Now dissolving the Lok Sabha will be on the advice of prime minister, or you can say the council of minister. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now moving further to the next one, that is article 86, that is right of president to address and send messages to the house. Okay, now president can address either house of the parliament and require them to, or require the members to send a message over there. So basically that is there. One thing, when we are talking about the, you can say, parliament, you know that there are certain attendance which are, you can say, there. If you are absent for a, you know, period of 60 days without notice, or you can say for that kind of absence, you need to have to give a notice to the speaker. Now talking about the president can call a session, president can address either house of the parliament and require the members to attend it. Okay, so that is one thing. Second is the president can send messages to either house regarding bill or other matters which must be considered promptly. Okay, so there are two powers. One, he can address and he can send messages to the house of parliament. Then article 87, if we talk about special address given by the president. When we talk about the first session, when we talk about the you can say after new government is being you can say elected, then president will address the parliament. Okay, so here you will be seeing at the start of the first session after the general election and the beginning of each parliamentary year, first session after the general election when the new government has been elected. Okay, so that is one thing. Second thing is after beginning of each parliamentary year. Okay, the president addresses both the house to outline the reason for the session. Okay, second is rule must be set for the discussing the matters mentioned in the president's address. So there are, you can say, when we talk about such rules, parliament has its own rules. There are, you can say, rule making committees, etc. were there. Other than that, parliament can decide its own business, and speaker will be the one who will oversee the business of, you can say, Lok Sabha, and there will be a chairman which will be looking at the business of the Rajya Sabha. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So this is about the 2-3 things which we have discussed. One is related to the sessions of the parliament. There are 3 sessions which we have seen. Other than that, constitution does not provide for the name, etc. These are based on the convention. Okay, and in the constitution it is given that there should not be a gap of more than 6 months. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Then second thing, we have talked about the address and the message. The power with president is that he can address the you can say parliament, and he can send message with respect to any matter in parliament. Okay, other than that, we have talked about the special address done by the president. There are 2 occasions. One, every general election, after every general election president will address the parliament. Okay, and then when we talk about the first session of particular year, in that case also president will address the parliament. So these are certain things which we have talked today. We will be moving forward with the next part, that is the discussion regarding the, you can say, our articles. So we will be talking about the Swachh Bharat helps our 60,000 infants death per year. Okay, there is some data which is given over here. They are talking about the decrease in a particular state if we talk about. So here you can say Kerala had the maximum decrease with respect to the infant mortality. Okay, Moving further, access to toilet and better sanitation services under the government Swachh Bharat mission may have averted around 60,000 to 70,000 infant deaths annually between 2014 to 2020. Okay, so this is the data they have checked. Okay, they have gone for the two kind of data. We'll be talking about that later. So mere access to the, you can say, better sanitary practices, to access of toilets, etc., they have actually helped us decrease the infant mortality. So that is there. When we talk about the Swachh Bharat mission, this is related to the, you can say, cleaning our surroundings. Other than that, various components which has been added time to time, like we have gone for the open defecation free status, etc. We have gone for the bio toilets, etc. All these things were included in Swachh Bharat in a phased manner. Okay, so that is there. Now we will be talking about the outcome of the report. We will try to understand it in this particular way. Let's see. Swachh Bharat mission, if we talk about, that was launched on the birth anniversary of, you can say, our Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so on October 2nd 2014, this particular mission was launched, aimed at improving the sanitation and increasing the access to toilets. Okay, then infrastructure achievement, if we talk about this particular you can say Swachh Bharat mission, and we will be seeing certain achievements, and then we will be seeing that how these achievements are having an impact on the infant mortality. Okay, now over 11 crore households toilets were built in the rural areas by 2020. Okay, so 11 crore households rural in the rural area has got the toilet. Second thing is over 63 lakh individual household toilets and 6.3 lakh community public toilet were constructed in the urban areas. Okay, if you can remember the data, that's well and good. Otherwise also just know that there are more than 11 crore toilets which has been built under the Swachh Bharat mission. And why I am telling you this particular data is important, because those who are writing mains this time, okay, since Swachh Bharat is in the news and they have asked about a direct connection with the health practices. Okay, they have talked about a health indicator, that is infant mortality. If they ask you something about the infant mortality or the Swachh Bharat, you can add this dimension over there. Okay, now moving further, impact on the infant mortality. Here you will be seeing the study estimates the Swachh Bharat mission averted approximately 60,000 to 70,000 infant deaths annually between 2014 and 2020. Infant mortality rate decreased from over 60 per thousand live births in 2003 to below 30 per thousand live births by 2023. Okay, so basically you can say 60 per thousand live births to, it has come to 30 per thousand live births in 2020. Okay, so that is a significant you can say that there was a significant decrease in the infant mortality. Okay, so that is there. You can just remember this particular data, that would be sufficing your cause. It will be important for you to understand that 60,000 to 70,000 death we could prevent. Okay, moving further, if we talk about this particular study, you will be seeing that analyzing Swachh Bharat mission dashboard, that is one thing. Okay, and second thing is the National Family Health Survey data. They have used these two data to come up with this report. Increased toilet coverage from 40% in 2003 to, you can say, 60% in 2023. This is talking about the toilet coverage. Okay, then improved sanitation links to reduce death from preventable infectious diseases. Okay, when we talk about you can say unhygienic conditions, okay, because of which also there are various infections which can happen, and because of the, you can say, improvement in the sanitation conditions, improvement in the, you can say, availability of the toilets in the particular area or the rural areas, we could actually prevent such infection, and which has led to, you can say, decrease in the infant mortality. Now future recommendations they are given, that is need for sustainable efforts in the sanitation. Now no doubt we have achieved this much, there is a lot, or there is a long way to go, so there should be a sustained effort in this direction. Okay, additional investment in the clean water waste disposal recommended for the long term health improvements. Okay, when we are talking about this water crisis, you know that Delhi, Punjab, these are the areas, even the, you can say, metro cities like Bangalore, Bombay, these are facing the issues of water. Okay, so now the availability of clean water is a problem or a challenge for India, so we have to focus on that. Second thing is they are talking about the waste disposal. Okay, so that is also one area which we have to focus on, so that we can go for the less and less pollution. Okay, and we can go for the systematic ways with respect to the waste disposal as well. Okay, and that will ultimately lead a way in or you can say it can provide us the hygienic conditions for our living, and this will ultimately improve your health. Okay, now we can move further to the next article, which is talking about the last chance tourism. Okay, so what is this last chance tourism? In this article there are various names of the islands which are given, glaciers which are given. There are various names which are talking about a particular place in you can say in Europe or somewhere, but you don't have to remember all these things. From this article what is important for us is to understand what is the last chance tourism. Okay, so we will be talking about that, and second thing is we will be seeing that why this particular article is of concern for today. Okay, tourists are eager to visit vanishing ice caves which are also more and more unstable. Now when we are talking about the glaciers, you know that glaciers are nothing but the you can say mountains which are having a snow cover. Okay, since they are mountains having snow cover, there are chances that they will also have certain caves inside it. Now the thing is, once in a place where these are the glaciers which were present over there, and after some time, because of the melting of the ice, we have seen that these caves are coming forward and ice is melting, and because of which more and more caves are coming you can say to the fore. Now the thing is, since ice is melting and these caves has been under the snow cover, and these are the old mountains, because of which there are chances that these caves are not very stable. Okay, but the problem is that since the glaciers are melting, people are going to watch these glaciers, that because this is the last chance for them to see that snow in that particular area. That is why this is called as last chance tourism, with the speculation that something they might not be able to witness in the next phases. Then now, since there was this speculations that these glaciers might not be present over there, they might not be able to witness the snow, and that is why actually what is happening now is that people are visiting these areas. Now as I told you that these are the old mountains, and because of which they are vulnerable, they are unstable. And recently there was this issue somewhere over, you can say an American tourist was visiting an ice cave in one of the Europe's largest national park last month, where frozen arch collapsed. Okay, so in Europe somewhere a person was visiting this national park, and where they have gone for watching this ice cave, and ultimately since this was unstable, that arch has collapsed on that, and that person has died. And because of which we are having this concern that these areas, these you can say old caves or ice caves are unstable, and because of which people are going over there to watch it. That is why we are calling it a last chance tourism. Okay, now that is a specifically having a concern, because when we are seeing that the ecology over there is already vulnerable, and then people are going over there and making a fuss about it, and that ultimately harms the ecology of that particular area. Other than that, when we see that why these incidents are increasing, simple reason: climate change. Because of the climate change, global warming is happening. After the global warming, you can say that there are certain kind of you can say consequences which are there. Okay, because of the global warming, there is this ice which is melting, and we are coming up with these ice caves, and ultimately since these are unstable, that kind of events are happening. So from this particular article, one thing you can remember, that is your last chance tourism. Okay, so you can actually go through this particular article, wherein they have talked about 2-3 you can say glaciers, which you can remember if you want to, otherwise no need. Okay, more people rush to see the glaciers before they melt. Place like Iceland has benefited from the booming tourism economy. Since these ice caps are weathering away, because of which also people are going and visiting these particular areas, there are countries which are making a tourism, or you can say they are capitalizing this particular thing. Okay, and making an economy out of it. So one of them is Iceland. Okay, other than that, there are these national parks etc which are there. So since when we are talking about the conservation of the ecology etc, there are these national parks which are built, and they are witnessing these caves etc. Okay, now when these are the ice caves which has been formed from the melt water. As I told you, ice caps are weathering away, because of which there is a melt water, and these caves are over there. Okay, it's a good example of the consequences that climate change can have on the glacier tourism. Okay, so that is something which we have already discussed, nothing much to discuss in this particular article. I hope that is clear what is last chance tourism. Now we can move further to the next article, that is talking about what is the significance of the first global legally binding pact on use of AI. Okay, so here you can say the United States and the European Union and United Kingdom signed the Council of Europe's Convention on the Artificial Intelligence. Okay, Council of Europe's Convention on the Artificial Intelligence, the first legally binding international treaty on the use of the revolutionary new technology. Okay, we have seen that the countries like countries in the European Union etc., they are coming up with the regulation of AI etc., all these things are there. Other than that also, when we talk about the emerging technology with respect to data privacy etc., these European countries are making certain regulations. Okay, recently they have come up with the regulation of, or you can say AI, here they have come up with the binding treaty, and United States, European Union and the United Kingdom has actually signed it. Okay, we will be talking about the important factors over here. The Council of Europe framework, earlier I might have mentioned European Commission, that is not European Commission, that is the Council of Europe framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence and Human Rights. This is the name of that particular event which has happened, that is the Council of Europe Framework Convention on Artificial Intelligence, Human Rights, Democracy and Rule of Law. Okay, now they have signed this particular convention, because it is a convention, framework convention, they have signed. Who has signed? UK, USA and European Union. Okay, now milestone if we talk about, that is because it is the first legally binding treaty on artificial intelligence. What is the objective? Obviously to ensure that we are going for the optimum use of and not the negative use, ensure AI systems respect human rights, support democratic processes and adhere to the rule of law. Okay, with the name also it is clear that why it has been actually coming to picture. Moving further, they are taking a risk based approach. Okay, now what is the risk based approach? Here you can say covers the entire life cycle of AI system from design to decommissioning, focusing on the managing risk. Okay, now from the idea of AI, from the starting where we are going for the development of this AI, we are going for the idea, then we are going for the software part, we are going for the writing the codes, we are giving data to AI, then we are trying to develop it, and till the final product is with us for the commissioning. Okay, and then there is something which is happening over there, there is something wrong which has happened, and because of which we have decommissioned it. The whole life cycle of the artificial intelligence tools, basically that is based on this risk based approach, and it is actually maintained that during this whole life cycle, any kind of stage which is causing a risk to the human democracy, rule of law etc., then it should be taken into consideration and then it should not go for the approval. Okay, so that is risk based approach which they have taken. Moving further, human rights and democracy requires AI system to uphold human rights and not undermine democratic institutions, judicial independence etc. Okay, so if let's say there is some kind of judgment by the Supreme Court of United States. Okay, now the federal court over there has given a particular judgment, and now AI is not following that. Okay, so that should not be actually happening over here if we are talking about such tools, and if we are using such tool for the content creation etc. So we have to make sure that these are following the rule of that particular land. Okay, or the law of the land. Requires AI system to uphold the human rights and not undermine the democratic institution or the judicial independence. Okay, now coming to the accountability, member states must address harmful or discriminatory AI outcomes and provide legal recourse for the affected individuals. Okay, accountability is maintained, you can say maintained over here on the member states. Okay, if let's say UK has signed it, and now there was some incident wherein the AI tool has actually violated a human right of a person. Okay, gone for the defamation of a particular person. In that case, the member state will have to make sure that the victim is given considerable you can say compensation. Other than that also, it should make sure that who is accountable for that should be actually someone should be held accountable for that particular action. Okay, so you cannot say that this was something which has been done by AI. Okay, we cannot do anything. If there is a person who has created that particular AI, then he should be held responsible for that also. Okay, moving further, global applicability aims to unify international AI regulation across public and private sector. So obviously they have come up with the right now the European Union, UK and USA has signed that, and the ultimate aim is to go for the global applicability. Okay, exemptions are there, include national security and the research and development with an emphasis on the managing associated risk. Okay, so there are certain things which has been exempted from the regulations, which obviously in the name of the national security, etc., which is quite important as well. Okay, I hope that is clear. Moving further, if we talk about concerns, what are the concerns with respect to this particular event which has happened? Lack of punitive measures. When we talk about this particular convention which has been signed and which is legally binding, there is no fines, no penalties, or compliance is monitored. Okay, so now the thing is, if there is no fine, okay, and if there is no you can say any kind of penalty which is not there, then how do you you can say accept that such laws will be implemented or the enforced, you can say in a very efficient manner. Okay, so that is there. Second thing is enforcement challenges. Reliance on the monitoring may affect effectiveness. Okay, more and more monitoring of a particular platform, okay, that might affect the effectiveness of that particular platform. That is one concern which is there. Global impact, it represents a major step in aligning international AI regulations and building the trust in AI technologies. So that is the impact of this particular. Right now when we are talking about the concern, these are the two concerns. This is impact which is there. Okay, so this is about the which framework convention which has come on the AI with respect to the human rights and democracy and rule of law. Okay, these are certain concerns. That enforcement we are not very sure of the how that will be done. Second thing is there is no punitive action. We are not sure of the efficiency of that particular law as well. Okay. Now moving further to the next article, which is talking about the genome mapping of Chandipura virus findings. Okay, when we talk about the Chandipura virus, it has been in news recently, and now we have come up with the whole mapping of this particular virus. Okay, so let's see what is mapping. Mapping of or the genome mapping. Genome mapping of a particular virus or any kind of you can say biological asset. Okay, so that means that we are actually going for actually looking at the sequence of the genetic structure of that particular virus or any kind of, let's say if we are talking about the human genome, then we are looking at the you can say genetic structures, how it is arranged. Okay, the sequencing, that is basically we are looking at. Okay, so by looking at that particular sequencing, we would be able to identify that what kind of traits are attached with these gene structures. Okay, anyway, now recently the Gujarat Biotechnology Research Center, that is GBRC in Gandhinagar, has published a fully mapped genome of Chandipura vesiculovirus. Okay, the virus infection that caused at least 1/3 of the when you must have heard about this particular disease, that is encephalitis. Okay, encephalitis. So when we are talking about the 1/3 of such encephalitis, these are because of the Chandipura. Okay, so or brain swelling cases in Gujarat during the outbreak in July and August. We have seen an outbreak in July and August. This is not the first time that in India we have seen such outbreak. Okay, it has been there earlier as well. Okay, there was this outbreak in 2003 as well. Okay, so that was the case. So now we have come up with the genome mapping. Now we know the genome sequence. Now we know that what kind of changes it has gone through. When we talk about 2003, after 2003, there was another outbreak somewhere around 2012. Okay, and now recently we have another outbreak. So the thing is, we are now looking at the prospects. We are seeing that what kind of changes is gone through. When we talk about COVID in the matter of 1 month or 2 months, this particular virus has gone through nearly 10 to 15 changes. You must have heard in the first wave, second wave and third wave that there are various you can say variant of COVID which was there, and they used to develop very fast. Okay, so that is one thing which was there in the case of COVID. When we talk about Chandipura, looking at the sequencing, we did not find much changes. Okay, there are 4 or 5 changes which has happened, but not to that much scale. Okay, so that is thing. Now how do we know that? Because we have read the genome mapping now. Okay, so what is CHPV, or you can say this Chandipura virus over here? What is this? Apart from encephalitis, CHPV is known to cause fever, headache, convulsions, coma, and even death, usually within the days of symptoms being showing up. Okay, so these are certain things which can happen because of this particular virus. Okay, now CHPV most severely affect the children below the age of 15. It can be transmitted by the sandfly ticks and the Aedes aegypti mosquito which is there. Okay, that is also responsible for the dengue and chikungunya, etc. That is Aedes aegypti. Please remember this name, that can be important for you. Right now, when we are talking about the 2003's recent outbreak in Gujarat that has happened recently in July and August, that was because of the sand flies. Okay, so that is there. With no specific treatment, CHPV has mortality rate that as high as 75%, and worst ever outbreak which was there in 2003, which we have talked about. When we talk about this year's outbreak, that was there was this rate, fatality rate, that was nearly 45%. Okay. Now, what is the genome mapping, which we have seen that genome mapping refers to the process of determining the location of the gene on the organism's chromosomes. We have seen that where how this genetic structure is, that where these genes are located, that is what we will be seeing. Mapping can provide clues about the origin and the significance, mutations about the other things. Okay. Now, when we are talking about the this genome mapping, that is important for us to know that what kind of mutation which has been done. We have seen that we have the 2003 outbreak. We have tried to compare it with the 2012 one and the recent one, 2024 ones as well. So that is been done because we have seen, or we have looked into the mutations, we have looked into the changes in the sequence. Okay, so that is there. It can give you our idea about the mapping, can provide you clues about the origin, significant mutations, and other things as well. Okay. Now, here you can say important to help research develop you can say institutions, etc. They can go for the development of the antibodies, or the you can say there are vaccines, etc., which has been made with the help of genome mapping. What did the research has found recently? The virus has not evolved much since 2003-4 outbreak as well as 2012 outbreak. There are 4 significant changes which has happened over there. That changes, if you want to go through, then you can go through, but that these are not very much important for us. But you can see there are 5 type of proteins which are there in this particular structure, and there is one which is important. Okay, so which is responsible for the binding with the human cell receptors. Okay, any kind of disease, there are certain proteins which identifies the cell or the targets over there. So when we are talking about the human cells which are targets, so to bind with these human cells, there are certain receptors which are there on the viruses. There are 5 proteins. One of them is there, that is glycoprotein gene. Okay, that is responsible for the you can say identifying the receptors. Okay. So here you can say it is responsible for binding to the human cell receptors and eliciting the immune response. Now, there was certain changes in that particular protein. That is one thing which was there, or significant change which was there. Only one significant mutation in the glycoprotein G from 2012. Okay, so that was there. When we talk about COVID-19, it has gone through nearly 20 to 30 mutations within the matter of months. Okay, virus has not been under selection pressure to escape the immunity. Now, since the cases were not very high, okay, and because of which we could not develop a herd immunity, there is this one factor which is their cycle threshold. Okay, that is the, or you can say CT value, cycle threshold or CT value. That is basically a number of times the genetic material of a sample has to be amplified in order to detect a pathogen. Okay, when we take a sample, you have to amplify the sample again and again to make sure that you are detecting that particular pathogen in that particular sample. When we talk about the this Chandipura virus, the CT threshold is very high, CT value is very high. That means that you have to put, or you can say go for very high amplifications. Okay, amplifications, or you can say the number of times these virus is put through scrutiny, so that you can say it can actually show the presence of that particular virus. That means that higher the number, that means that it is very easy to identify that particular you can say, sorry, higher the number, that means that you have gone for the various cycles, and that means that it is not very easy to identify that particular virus in that particular sample. Okay, so if you are saying that the CT value is high, okay, so let's say here over here that a high CT value implies that a viral load, the amount of virus in the sample is quite low. Okay, if the amount is low, that means that you have to go for the more and more cycle of amplifications. Okay, so it is hard for you to detect. So that is means that higher CT value means that it is hard to detect the virus in the sample. Then moving further, the CT value of most of the patient was high. This means that the viral load was very less. When we are talking about this Chandipura virus, the CT load was very high. That means that viral load was very less, and because of which, since the virus load was very less, we could not come up with the herd immunity or the developing antibodies. Okay, so that is the case. When we are talking about the COVID-19, we have eventually developed immunity with respect to that. Okay, so I hope that is clear. You can go through this article. It is quite technical, but you have to read for 1 or 2 times. And again, if you don't understand, you can pause the video, read it, and then watch it again. Now moving further to the next one, that is talking about the Saturn's rings which are there, and we are saying that these might disappear, okay, but not to go for always. It will reappear again soon, but in nearly 10 to 12 years one such position comes wherein Earth and Saturn are in such way that these lines or these rings are basically, from the distance you will be able to see just one line around the Saturn. When we are talking making a 2D diagram, so this is Saturn and there is this ring which is like this, okay. Now if we are seeing this ring, and if you consider a particular angle from where you are not able to see the 2D, just the front part, let's say like this, and Earth is in front of it, so you will be able to just see this much, that there is this particular line over here, okay. Then, and if you are going for a longer distance, if you are going from viewing from a very long distance, what will happen is that the thickness of this line will start reducing, and at one point of time this thickness might not even be visible for you, so you won't be able to see the line at all, okay. That means that there is this particular angle when these rings will be having a structure like this, okay, and they will be visible in the form of a line, and since the distance is very high, and because of which the thickness will be lowered, and ultimately we will not be able to see it, okay. So such position will be there, okay. Now a majestic, the rings of the Saturn, March 2025 is the time when we will not be able to look at this particular ring, so we are saying that it will disappear only for a brief time, okay. Now why it is happening? When we are talking about the, you can say, these rings, these are nothing but basically under the influence of the Saturn's gravity, there are certain particles which are there, long ago there was some kind of impact, okay, and because of which there are various dust particles from the size of very small size to size of mountains. Such particles are basically in this particular ring, okay, and because of the gravity of the Saturn, they are actually revolving around the Saturn. Now the thing is, we are saying that this ring is basically slowly, the thickness of the ring is decreasing, because under the influence of the Saturn's gravity, these particles are now settling on the Saturn, okay. So there might be a time we will be seeing that we are losing the Saturn ring, okay, that is because of the gravity obviously, but right now this ring will disappear for a brief amount of time, because the alignment of the Saturn and the Earth will be like that, okay. Now here you will be seeing this is an optical illusion, okay. Here if it is not, if the ring will cease to exist, but it will disappear, okay. Hold on, okay. So how do you recognize that? Because when we are talking about the Saturn is also tilted like Earth on a particular angle, okay. When we talk about Earth, you know that Earth is tilted 23.5 degree, okay. Similarly Saturn is also, you can say, tilted, that is 26.73 degree, okay, and it takes about 29.4 Earth years to complete single orbit of the Sun, okay, that is there, and half of the Saturn year, that is roughly around 15 years, which is there, a gas giant is tilted toward the Sun. So you will be seeing, when we are talking about the Earth, we know that this is Sun, or you can say this is basically Earth. We have this equator, okay, and this is the tilt which we have. This is basically your, you can say, Cancer, and this is Capricorn, okay, or better diagram would be to go for like this. This is your equator, this is your Cancer, and this is your Capricorn, okay, and here we have Sun. So we know that half of the season Sun is between equator and Cancer, and half of the season Sun is between equator and Capricorn. Similarly, half of the time it will, one axis will be in front of you can say Sun, and half of the time the another one, okay. So I hope that is clear. So that is there, and in that particular way the tilt is there, and when we are seeing it from the Earth, that particular arrangement will happen, and we will not be able to see that particular ring, okay. So here you will be seeing the gas giant is tilted towards Sun, for the other half it is tilted away from it. It's the ring too are also tilted, since this is Earth, and if we make a ring around that, you will be able to see that we are this can be a Saturn as well, because only thing over here is that we are looking at the tilt, and since the planet is tilted, that ring is also tilted, okay. So similarly with the Earth also we are having the same situation, that Earth is also tilted over here. Its ring are too tilted at the same angle, and as the planet revolves, they appear to change their orientation when viewed from the earth. Okay, and in that particular you can say orientation, we will be witnessing this particular event. Okay, other than that, here you will be seeing, but ring won't last for longer. As I told you, this ring will disappear because now under the influence of the gravity, these rings are settling. Okay, so that is their thickness is decreasing from time to time when we are looking at this particular thing, and it has been various years as well. So that is there might be a time when the Saturn's ring will disappear. Okay, how we have seen that? We have seen it from the NASA's Cassini spacecraft, which is there, which is looking at this particular phenomena as it happens. Moving further, India, China, Brazil in Putin's list for potential mediators. Now BRICS summit is about to happen, and these are all the members of BRICS, and that is why Russian president has considered that in that particular meeting they might talk about it, and that is why he has given these particular names that these countries can go for the mediation as well. Okay, our Prime Minister has actually proposed that he will be more than happy to contribute in the peace process. Okay, so these are certain things which are written over here about the you can say statement which was made by our Prime Minister in Ukraine, about the statement which he made during the talk with the President Putin over here. Okay, now when we are talking about this particular remark which we have seen over here, Putin's remark on potential mediators comes ahead of the BRICS summit in Kazan in Russia next month, when the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chinese President Xi Jinping are expected to be among the leaders in the BRICS summit. Okay, so that is there. I hope that is clear. Other than that, we have talked about the when we are talking about the this particular arrangement which has been mentioned over here, the Mr. Putin has said that we will be able to based in on the mediation which was there in the Turkey. When we are talking about the initial phases of this war, there was this mediation which started in Turkey, in Istanbul, and that particular agreement could not materialize. Ultimately, that was never implemented. So here Putin has said that we can consider that as the base you can say material for the talks, and not the Swiss process. Okay, in the Swiss peace process, Russia was not available over there. Okay, so this is something which is discussed over here, which we have already discussed various times. Then when we are talking about the China, this Brunei visit, president has visited Brunei and Singapore. Okay, so in Brunei visit, he has mostly talked about the areas of cooperations, okay, which we have already discussed in the yesterday's session, and he has talked about certain more things like the freedom of navigation in the area of South China Sea. Other than that, he has said that the expansionism in that particular area should not happen. They should follow the international norms which has been set by the UN clause. Okay, other than that, they have talked about the sovereignty and the territorial integrity in this area, because that when we talk about the area of Brunei, Philippines, etc., that is the area of South China Sea, and China is trying to have a sway in this particular area. China is trying to basically expand in this particular area. Okay, so you can keep a note on that. They have mentioned UN clause. This is important for your examinations point of view as well, so you can see. Other than that, they have mentioned that India supports policy of development, not expansionism, emphasis on the need to respect the freedom of navigation and space for the overflight, etc. Okay, so these are certain things which has been talked in this particular article, which is not very much, because see over here mostly common points are written over here. Cooperation in the wide range of issues like defense, connectivity, and investment, energy, include, etc., etc. So this is nothing to be understood. You can go through this particular article. Moving further, in Singapore, we have actually gone for the 4 agreements over here. Okay, and out of these 4 agreements, one is on the semiconductors. So here you can see there are memorandum of understanding which has been signed. Okay, so that is one in the cooperation in the field of digital technology, India-Singapore semiconductor ecosystem partnership, cooperation in the field of health and medicine, and education cooperation and the skill development. Okay, so there are 4 fields. One is your semiconductors. Second is digital technology. Third is health and medicine. Fourth is education and skills. Okay, so these are the same thing which has been talked about. This para is important. Okay, other than that, India is trying to become a semiconductor production hub. We know that India is trying to make its impact in this particular area. Okay, so that is there. Other than that, if we see this UN clause is basis of the determination of maritime entitlement. We have discussed about the UN clause in last one as well. We have seen that we should follow the instructions by the UN clause, or you can say as per the international law which has been followed by the UN clause. Now, what is UN clause? UN clause is the basis for the determining maritime entitlement, sovereign rights, jurisdiction, and the legitimate interest over the maritime zones. Now, this is important in this particular area because there is this, when we talk about the maritime expansion by the China is going for the expansionism in the South China Sea. There are various islands which it is claiming that that to be China's. But there are certain cases, let's say the case of Philippines, wherein the UN clause has said that this particular island belongs to Philippines, yet China is not, you can say, giving much attention to that particular judgment. Okay, so UN clause is the entity which is deciding the maritime entitlements, sovereignty in that particular area, territories, what belongs to whom. That kind of things are done by UN clause over here. Okay, so you can go through this article as well because there is nothing much which has been discussed. When we talk about such visits, most of the time you will be seeing that area of cooperation same. Everyone is talking about the digital, you can say technology. Everyone is talking about the health, education, etc. Employment, etc. So these are certain things which are common to all. This is one thing which was different from the Brunei's visit that you can see over here, because in this visit also they have talked about the territorial integrity. They have talked about the, you can say, not to go for the expansionist policies, etc. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Moving further. Russia sourcing sensitive goods from India for its war effort, UK Daily. There was this report by this particular newspaper over here wherein they are saying that there was this leak information from Russia which is saying that Russia is sourcing certain, you can say, sensitive technologies from India. Okay, here you will be saying sourcing sensitive goods from India to enhance its war effort in Ukraine. Okay, now India is saying that we are going for the export sector, but that is in the civilian as well as the when we are talking about the military, both of them are there, but not for this particular purpose. Though the government has not made any such comment yet, but the speculations are there in the experts that that this particular thing, since it is a correspondence which is leaked, so we cannot actually understand the authority, or you can say we cannot give much weightage to this particular thing. But what is happening over here is that we are buying oil from Russia and paying in rupees. Now Russia has a reserve of rupees with them. Now they have to do something about it because rupee is not an international currency, so they have to buy something from India only. So in that regard, Russia is buying certain goods from India, and there are these speculations which are there, which are saying that they are buying the sensitive goods over here. Okay, and when we are talking about the oil purchase despite the sanctions, we are actually defending that, because when we are talking about the Western sanction on India, you can say Russia, and they are asking us not to import oil from Russia, they are using that money to increase the war efforts in the Ukraine. But the thing is, the you can say the energy requirement of Europe are also been fulfilled by Russia. Okay, so in that regard, we are actually taking a shield that this is kind of a hypocrisy, that Europe is buying energy from Russia, but we cannot buy oil if they are on the cheaper prices. Okay, so these are certain things which has been discussed in this particular article. Again, the source of this information is not very authentic because this is a leaked information which was there. Okay, again, moving further, China offers Africa 51 billion US dollar in fresh funding, wow, million jobs. So basically they are, China is trying to have a sway in Africa as well. So recently there was this forum on China Africa Cooperation Summit, and in that particular summit, the China and Africa accounts for 1/3 of the world's population. Without our modernization, there will be no global modernization. So basically here Jinping has made a comment that for both Africa as well as China, if these two countries are not going for the modernization, then there will be no global modernization, because 1/3 of the population is there. In that regard, they have actually given a line of credit. There will be nearly 300 billion which will be given to 360 billion yuan will be given to, you can say, Africa, out of which 210 will be a line of credit. Okay, and other will be a help. Then when we are talking about the 51 billion, that will be given over 3 years, that is basically same amount, that is 360 billion yuan. Okay, and there will be various infrastructure projects, etc., and ultimately they are saying that they will create 1 million jobs in that area. Okay, so that is one thing which is there. We are looking over here that China is trying to have a sway in Africa as well. Okay, now satellite based highway toll collection. Okay, we have discussed this particular you can say article in our one of the videos, so you can go on the Drishti IAS YouTube and you can find this particular video over there. Satellite based high toll collections, how it will work. Okay, earlier when we are talking about, right now we are going for the FASTag etc. Okay, these are based on the radiations. Now we are going for the satellite based one. Okay, so you can go through this particular article. Moving further, there is another article, that is Law Commission and its role, members and recommendations. Now this is a, you can say, static part. When we are talking, recently 23rd Law Commission has been announced. Okay, so you can go through this particular static, that is basically for your, you can say, in the notes etc. for you to read, but since there was this article, so I have used it in this for your own reason, for your own read. Now for your practice, there is this question: when was the Swachh Bharat mission launched? January 1, 2015, October 2nd, 2014, December 31st, 2013, and November 15th, 2016. Okay, so you can go through these options and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Have a nice day.